Well, let's go back to the Chamber, where they're just winding up on that debate about the location of public sector jobs. And Patsy McGlone, whom we saw stealing time from Tommy Gallagher earlier, is still speaking.
In fact, to what he was saying there. Now, and he did refer to the fact that the committee was briefed by the authors of the report on the 1st of October, and that the review did align closely with the initial recommendations of the Finance Committee. So I'm not sure where the compatibility of members of that Finance Committee who did align themselves with the basis of the report may well now find themselves potentially opposing the merits of the arguments in favour of the report, but that's I suppose, politics. Bain was in fact seen as the first step of a modest and phased approach. The list of the locations not exhaustive. So therefore that's amply covered. Mr McQuillan referred to Coleraine about jobs being centralised and in fact articulated the case for centralisation of jobs, articulated the case for the Bain recommendations, as did other members. And in fact I listened to Mr Robinson, who very, very well did make an excellent case for the East Antrim constituency, very well made case for the decentralisation of jobs, very well made case for that, until you threw in the argument that a financial case could potentially be used against it. So I think members need to either consider whether they are in favour of the proposals contained in Bain and extending the list of locations for the benefit of their constituencies, or in fact they are making an argument to restrain the effects of the Bain report. My colleague Dominic Bradley likewise came in and did mention Newry City, as well as Armagh City. I did hear of the case there being made, and of course we're fully supportive of it. Not in your motion, but in the substance of what we've just said. I moved on to the Minister. I listened very carefully indeed that the report was thorough and detailed. It would be foolish of us to ignore Sir George's advice on the report, and you did deal, as I referred to earlier there, Minister, with the socio-economic benefits and the investment of the £40 million up front. Now, and we all are aware of the difficult economic circumstances as exist at the moment. However, where does that new money come from? The financial constraints which you did refer to. It should never, ever be used, financial constraints or an investment, a potential investment, or shall we put it, maybe political creativity, should never be inhibited by what an accountant said. Because in investment, there are different ways of looking at investment and different potentials, as we all know, as to what that may realise down the line. Mr Weir did come back to the danger of focusing on 3 towns, but again that's not the basis of what the motion is about. It's about focusing on the recommendations of the Bain report and taking in that context those 3 particular towns which are west of the Bann. We don't want to perpetuate it, surely we don't want to perpetuate a vicious cycle, but the reality is, and the basis of what Mr Weir was saying was, no investment, no roads, no jobs. That's precisely why we have the Bain report in front of us here. And that's exactly why I'm making the point that I'm making at the moment, and that's why the motion is before us here today. Because there has been endemic neglect of those areas. This is one method of trying to reinvest, and one method of, indeed, making best use of those vacant properties that have been left by public sector jobs, which have been moved out of places like Enniskillen, which have been moved out of places like Cookstown, Maghera, Magherafelt, and Downpatrick, as the Minister has just reminded me here. So, no, well, just briefly.
Is the member aware, under the current proposals, East Antrim is in danger of being left with health centres and job centres?
Absolutely, and I welcome the comments been made by Mr Beggs, which clearly is more than amply articulating the case for the motion and the way I am presenting it in support of the Bain report and the recommendations in it at the moment. And that we need to look at relocation, we need to look at decentralisation of services, we need to look at those key issues around why essentially people are having to travel to their work in Belfast every day. And if you start off from the notion that everybody who's working in Belfast is from Belfast, well, clearly that's a false notion. And that's why many of us have indeed had people daily coming to our constituency offices looking for relocation, looking to work closer hand to home for a wide range of both economic and family circumstances. Sure, yep, okay.
Would the member then agree that the point that he is making, where it is more accentuated in the Greater Belfast area, i.e. outside of Belfast itself, makes the point and backs up the point that members, including myself, was making earlier, that to omit Greater Belfast and movement within the Greater Belfast area is a flaw within the report?
Well, yes, I hear the point that you're making, but at the end of the day, what the basis of the report about is relocation of public sector jobs, the vast predominance of which are located centrally in Belfast here. And it doesn't mean to say that just because we're asking for relocation that everybody who's working currently in Belfast must be moved out of Belfast. There may well be other jobs and other particular departments which are best served by being located in Belfast. That's certainly a point, and yes, I'm sure that we couldn't ignore that. No, anyone who did ignore that would be very foolish to do so. But to come back to where we are, and I accept and I heard your point about this being a modest and phased approach, which is essentially what the report is all about. We have to come to the point at which we're accommodating the needs of the community, we're looking after the economic needs, the social needs, the environmental concerns, and at the same time trying to adopt a modest and phased approach to that, which really is the basis of the report, and that's why I so propose. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The question is that the amendment standing in the names of Mr Simon Hamilton and Peter Weir be made. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Contrary of any, no. No. Aye. Clear the lobbies. The question was put in 3 minutes.
Okay, that's the lobby bell going. The members are being called in to vote on that motion, which is about the relocation of public sector jobs.